Danny, welcome to Below the Belt podcast. How are you, mate?
Yeah, great, mate, and thank you for having me on it.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. So, you're the GBM Sports golden boy, so to speak, and the recently crowned IBF European super featherweight champion. How does that feel?
No, it's great. I think everything kind of came all at once. We'd been looking for some sort of promotional deal. I'd had 10 fights whereby we were on some small hall shows. We were on a couple of big TV shows, but obviously down the pecking order, first or second on, it's good to be on it, but also you're not going to gain anything from it because there's no crowd in there. I was bringing my own crowd and
Yeah.
bringing the atmosphere myself. In terms of the promotion side of things, they don't really promote you as such. So that's what our next step was in our career in terms of thinking about getting the backing from a promotional company. And GBM had been going for about a year at the time. We knew a few people who had actually been working with GBM and kind of put me forwards, and then they'd already been following me as such. So it kind of came around at the right time. When we were negotiating contracts, that one of the main points that we put across to them is we want to start fighting for titles. I think I was ready. I'd had my 10 learning fights.
Yeah.
Fought some good opponents.
Still fairly early for a European title, though. It's no easy feat to do that in, 11 fights?
Well, yeah, it was the 11th fight, and it was quite out of the blue.
Yeah.
We said, no, we want to start pushing for a title.
Was there hesitation, though, when that offer got put in front of you for the European title? Because, like you said, it's 11 fights, and you must have been confident in your own ability if you wanted to take that on, right?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't any hesitation. More so the fact that they come... Oh, I was expecting maybe like an English title. I mean, I'd already done an English title eliminator previous to that. I was maybe expecting maybe an English title, some sort of bout like that. Maybe even just maybe like a central area.
Yeah.
And then they come forward with an IBF European. I was like, yes.
Eyes must have lit up.
But it's one of them experiences. You just like, I can't say no to that.
Yeah, of course.
And
it's a headline in Coventry as well.
I've got it now, so it's even more of a an opportunity changer.
Were you aware of your opponent, Alex Rat, right? And I know I've looked at his record. He's fought some really good opponents, such as like Archie Sharp, and they've been taking the distance with him. So he's obviously a tough opponent, and you've obviously stopped him inside the distance. So, yeah, were you aware of him beforehand, or?
In terms of his name beforehand, no. I mean, what a name to have.
Obviously,
they used it in the build up to it a little bit with some of the posts they put up, and I'd never really heard of anything of him, but I'd obviously done a bit more research on him, and the first fight that pops up on social media is the Archie Sharp fight. So me and Edwin had viewed that. I didn't watch loads of the fights. I kind of leave that to Edwin to divulge and take parts from it. I'll focus on myself. But obviously that it was a big fight for him with Archie Sharp. And look at Archie Sharp now; he's moved on and he's looking to compete for. I think it was a world title. Maybe end of this year, maybe start of next. So he's a step above me at the moment in terms of where he's on the rankings, etc. But I took the fight against Alex Rat more so the comparisons rather than the actual winning of the title. That's great, but I take more from the comparison of how it went with Archie Sharp, and it went the full distance, went to points. Alex even took some rounds off Archie Sharp, and for me to go in there, get a fourth round
give
stoppage,
you some real confidence, show you that you can operate at that level.
And he didn't even win the 4th round. I think I got the knockdown in the first round. So again, I'm 2 rounds ahead. So I think I did it in style. A lot of people who have watched me over probably even before my 10 pro fights in the amateurs, a lot of people give me compliments in terms of, we expect you to come out all guns blazing, just going for it. But we've seen, a boxing ability coming through. Feints. I mean, Spencer Oliver said it all on the commentary. I was hard to read, and if I'm hard to read, he's not gonna be able to defend himself. He's currently thinking about what I'm doing all the time.
I do feel like you have a unique rhythm and tempo to the way that you fight. Where is that boxing style? Because it's an aggressive style as well. in some ways you're not afraid to mix it up. And have you had that since the amateur days? Is there any particular fighters that you model yourself on, or?
My amateur boxing, I say boxing, I'd say my first 30, 40 amateur fights was fighting.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much boxing. I mean,
Scrapping.
you know, you go into it. I was always tended to be the underdog. You know, I went into the elites.
Yeah.
With probably just over 10 amateur fights. Some of these lads in the elites have had 40, 50 fights at the time. You know, I was always seen as the underdog, and I think it brought the best out of me because I was always
you had to raise your game,
always gaining experience within the fights.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, people would probably take it as an, oh, we're fighting a lad who's only had 10, 15 amateur fights. It might be a breeze, and they're on the wrong side.
Shock element.
Yeah, shock element, and I was coming out with the victories, and I think that was sort of turning a few people's heads in the amateurs, thinking, oh, we've got to keep an eye out.
Yeah.
But you know, the amateurs 3-3-minute rounds. It's very intense. It's very crash bang wallop. You know, sometimes you haven't got time to think. So
fast paced, right?
People can go out in the first round and sort of take their time, etc. In the amateur, you haven't got time to do that.
I think
if you lose that first round, you've got 2 more rounds to get the win.
You've got to get right back on it.
You have to be on it, and you have to win that first round just to get ahead.
I think a lot of people, when you tell them in the amateurs, oh, it's just 3 rounds or 4 rounds. Oh, is that it? Is that all it is? You try fighting at that fast pace, but there must be like 1,000,001 things that go through your mind, right? Because, like I said, technically it's at such a high level, obviously, especially to the standard that you fought at in the amateurs. You don't have a second to take your eye off the ball, right? And even that can be mentally and physically so draining.
I mean, with the amateur side of things, I think the work's done all in the gym beforehand. You know, you get your two breaks between the rounds. They're a minute at a time. There's not a lot a coach can do with them. They're minutes.
It's true. Yeah.
In between 2 rounds, that they can say, "Oh, go out and do this. Go out and box like this." You can't.
Nothing you can
teach
learn.
it there.
Yeah.
Almost it's there. You get back. You have your breath. You break. You have your drink.
Kick up the arse if you need it.
It might give you a few hints as well. You can catch him with that shot. You can catch him with this shot. Try that. You can't change the fight as such. It's a matter of giving him a few hinters and off they go again. Like.
Yeah.
Whereas pro boxing is a lot different. You know, this last one, the one before was a 10-rounder. You know, that's where you can probably again look at their technique, and you can manipulate a plan.
Yeah.
You could potentially go out there and say, let's look at winning the first 2 rounds, and let's take a back step and let's look at him for the next 2 rounds. You know, but me and Edwin have got a different take to that. We like to keep the intensity of the amateurs side of things.
So,
but
Edwin,
throughout,
was he your coach in the amateurs and now into the
professional
professional
so Edwin's
game?
always been my coach since the age of, I think I was 10 years old when I went into the gym.
Yeah.
I'm still there now, still at Clearys Boxing Gym, even though it's mainly an amateur gym. But we've got a few pros come through. We had Matty Harris for a period of time, you know, and going forward we've got a bit of a surprise. And I don't think a lot of people know yet, but we got 2 big heavyweights also looking to turn pro. Okay. I won't say their names.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, you able to say the names?
No, I won't say yet. But
any exclusive news?
Probably some news. And then again, we've got some big amateur boxers coming through, who are likes of England. We've got 2 girls down there who are European champions, national champions.
Which says a lot about the gym itself.
It says a lot about the gym, but people think, oh, because I'm pro, that I won't train with them. No, that's not the case. I train with them. They better me. I spar.
It's a good mindset to have.
There's 2 girls down there, and they're 14 years old. Leading up to this last fight, I sparring with them.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah,
because it allows me to work and stuff.
Anyone. Yeah.
Their speed's amazing. Their boxing ability is amazing, and again, it's perfect sparring for me. You know, we've had other lads who are also in England currently, seniors, but still around the same sort of weight. Maybe not as experienced, but sharp and sharp, and iron sharp as iron. Yeah. It's all about being sharp. And you know, Mayweather back in his day, he was he'd say about, you know, I think he was a welterweight at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's sparring lads who are super featherweight, so a couple of weight classes lower than him.
Yeah.
But that's sharpening him up and keeping him fast. And
yeah.
You're not going to get hurt by them because they're a little bit
lighter. But he needs to match that speed, right?
Spar with people who are going to keep you sharp.
Yeah.
It's not all about getting hit by big shots and almost having scraps and sparring. It's all about learning with the sparring. But
Yeah.
we try and take the ethics of the amateur boxing, keeping it really intense, and keeping that going for as long as we can in a pro fight. You know, some people when they turn pro, because of the rounds extend, you know, it goes 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. They think, oh, we've got time to just slow it all a bit down, and the tempo drops, and you see it all the time. Tempo does drop. But with my engine from the amateurs, even going into the pros, we think, well, why can't we keep that intensity, but make it even better and go 6, 8, and 10 rounds at that pace?
Fair. That's what I was about.
That'd take a lot of people
by surprise. Yeah,
by surprise, and they think, when's he gonna slow down? Or we've got him in the last 6 rounds because he'll slow down. And when I don't, that's where there's problems.
So that's what I was about to ask you. How did you find that transition then from the amateurs to the pros? Did you, by the sounds of it, it was quite seamless, and obviously you've got a mature head on your shoulders, and it was a case of making the right tweaks. Like you said, let's try and sustain the same intensity, but for a longer period. So
yeah, I mean, obviously I had a lot of amateur fights and gained a lot of experience.
And how many amateur fights?
I had 89 amateur fights, won 75, so
that's an impressive,
pretty good record.
That's not easy to do in the amateurs because it's so easy to lose a fight in the amateurs, right? Whether it be a close contest or whatever, but to get that record, you got to have known what you were doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at also the names that I'd fought, there's lads. Ryan Garner was one of them. He was European gold medalist at the time.
Oh, wow.
There's James Beach. You know, he's fighting this weekend. WBA Continental title. Beating him 3 times. Macaulay Owen, he's with Queensbury at the moment. You know, still picking up a pro record as such. And then, you know, there's other national champions that I was beating. Mason Smith, I don't think he's boxing so much now, but he was on GB at the time. Ended up winning against him. And, you know, it's also not just the amount of fights, but who I've fought and the different styles I've fought. And again, that's experience. And
with the
a lot of people,
adaptability, especially, right?
You have to be able to adapt. And a lot of people would always question probably the latter 2-3 years of being an amateur. When's Danny turning pro? When's he going to turn over? I think he's better suited to the pro boxing. And again, you know, me and Edwin both had that knowledge in my mind that I'd probably be better suited to pro boxing than amateur boxing.
Was that always in the back of your head then when you were amateur that was always the plan?
Not as such. I even so, I'd say up to the age of maybe 16, 17, I'd never actually seen boxing being my career path. I knew I had a talent at it. I knew I was good at it. I knew I enjoyed it.
You just didn't see it as a career.
But I just never thought it would manifest into me actually going into being.
If it wasn't boxing, what would have been your career, do you think? Was there any of the...
Something sport related.
Yeah.
I've always done a lot of sports, even from when I was younger age. I didn't know what. A lot of people that age probably don't know what they want to do, but they might know the type of job they'd like to go into. And again, it would have been sports related. But I think turning professional at the time I did was perfect timing. Some people, you do see them turn pro from a very young age.
How old were you when you turned over?
I think I was 21 at the time. 21, 22.
Good age, yeah.
It's a good age, and again, I've had that experience. You know, some people turn over when they're 18, and they've had no senior amateur fights. Yeah, that's a whole different ball game to being a youth or a junior.
Fighting grown men at that point.
Yeah, you are, and you're fighting lads who might be like 28, 29. You're just about 18.
Yeah.
There's massive changes in the body throughout that time. And again, I think my style within amateur boxing probably wasn't suited to amateur boxing. And again, that's why people saw that. They're probably asking the question, when's he going to turn pro?
Why do you think it wasn't suited? Is it because you had a come forward style, wanting to mix it up? Like you said, you quite like having a scrap.
Yeah. It was solely down to that. Yeah. I think as time went on, my boxing ability has come through. I've been able to look at stuff and tweak stuff. And again, I reckon I won probably first 30 of my fights without throwing a jab, probably. Didn't have a jab. People they wouldn't see that jab. They might throw it a bit short or whatever, but now, if you look at the progression over time, I've got a good jab that's coming through. It needs to get better, but everything can always get better.
Yeah.
I've got a jab. I'm looking to box. I can box a little bit on the back foot. You know, I can make people miss. So there's some aspects coming through. I think professional boxing is definitely my ball game. I mean, in the amateurs, I used to always get to a certain point, whether it be the semi-finals, or nationals, or box for an English title, and I won them I won it in the end.
Yeah.
But I'd always get to a certain point, and I'd be
Just
like, yeah,
fall short.
might be my time,
Yeah.
be on the wrong end of a decision.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
think, crap, I'm gonna start again now.
Because like I said, it's the amateurs. It's very easy to lose a split decision, or
One
just on the
judge
wrong.
can change the whole game, and I think always having that frustrating, getting just nearly there, not quite over the end. And I think with professional boxing, that's where you'll see me take that step and go and win. And with the title, I had it in the back of my mind. I've always just about got there. And I thought, don't make this one of them occasions where I get that fight, I get the opportunity, I get in Coventry, so close to where I live, massive crowd. I thought I can't not
get
win
it
that
over
fight.
that.
And it was
Maybe
almost
you've learned from that past experience.
Yeah, it was that determination in my head. I thought, there's no chance I'm not winning this fight.
I
think to do it in the style I did, definitely turned a few heads. I think
massively.
Winning the title has opened a few doors already.
Obviously had big names there in Spencer Oliver, Adam Smith from Sky Sports. So, and I know you've been talked about on Talk Sport as well. So the world is watching now, right?
Yeah, of
they
course.
can't not be when you're European champion.
No, I think definitely it's allowing me to be put in front of people and viewed. Even these 10 professional fights leading up to this, we'd been trying to get some sort of acknowledgement from people who are higher up in boxing. Look what we can do. Look what I've done as an amateur. Look what look what my record is now. Look what I've been winning. So far, I haven't lost a round as a professional at all.
Oh, really?
Not one round.
Wow.
And I hope to keep that way.
Yeah, of course.
But we'd always try, and people, unless you've won something in the pros, sometimes it's a bit overlooked. And I think now with it being the IBF European title, they can't not look at it.
Yeah, it's prestigious
it's going to
title,
turn
right?
a few heads. GBM have promoted the hell out of it, and rightly so. I kind of also did it partly for Edwin, because all these years he's been training with me. And again, we've won Midlands titles and English title and stuff like that in the amateurs, but it's just like another step.
Massive.
And Leamington's a massive boxing town. It always has been. And I think, if I'm right in thinking, this is probably the first major title back to Leamington probably since the Turpins. So again, it's kind of doing something for Leamington town rather than just myself.
Well, I think even now you've got the whole of Coventry behind you after performing and headlining at the Sky Dome, right? But just going back to, I know we touched on it, the link up with GBM Sports. I think their main aim is to bring big time boxing back to the UK. Obviously, we've seen a lot of the big fights going over to Saudi Arabia. So I think they've possibly found a good market there in terms of what they want to do and bringing it back to the UK. But what is it that you think that Izzy saw in you that could be a great opportunity for them also, is kind of being their golden boy, so to speak?
Well, so you got to look at Izzy from the start originally. He boxed himself as a pro. You look at promoters nowadays,
they don't have that first-hand knowledge, right?
They might have had a little dabble with boxing.
Yeah.
They might have done a little bit. But Izzy's had professional fights. He knows the game inside out. These promoters also know boxing. You can't take it away from Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, etc. and all them.
Yeah.
They've been within boxing for years. They know how it goes. But also, they haven't probably seen it from being the person on the other side, being a fighter, the hardships of it all. And I think Izzy's seen it.
Yeah.
And he understands that aspect of it. And he's probably thought, I want to bring a new look to promoting boxing, where the fighters are maybe looked after a little bit more or understood a little bit more. And
do you feel that you are understood a little bit more with?
I think they're very open to listening to my opinions and how I feel about stuff and what my aspirations are. Again, likewise with them, they're fairly new on the scene, but they're making massive footprints. Their aspirations are very high. Yeah. And at first, you're always a bit, I've been told a few things before by different people. We look to do this, we look to do that, and it doesn't really manifold. Everything with GBM so far, since word dot, they've said they've done it. Yeah. And you only look at the shows that they've been putting on. What the first one I went to was in Sheffield.
Mm.
We were just watching.
I heard
it.
about that one. Yeah.
You go there and it looks the real deal. You know, you put up outside. You know, there's Rolls Royces outside. There's G-Wagons, everything. You go in. There's people walking to your seats. There's the massive screens. There's you know, even the presenters. You had Spencer there. You got Ali Drew there. You
very professionally.
You know,
done.
you've got all the camera team. You've got the ring walks. Everything. It's just all spot on. If you take away that the size of the arena isn't as big as maybe like the O2 or Wembley, etc., and all them big stadiums, it's exactly the same, if not better. And you know, GBM is not just Izzy, Alciester, and a couple of people. It's a team.
It's a team, yeah.
There might be 15, 20 people working that night, all making sure that certain things are done properly, and it felt that way. And again, with Coventry, you know, the arena was bigger than the one they used in Sheffield, but again, it was set out amazing.
It was a great atmosphere.
Even stuff the build up to it, you know, press conference, weigh-ins and stuff. They've invested in that. They have.
It felt like it was all done in the right way, how a professional boxing show should go. And obviously me being there in the stands to watch your fight and just watching how they had the kind of post-fight interviews, the ring walk, like you said, the way that the whole kind of setup was displayed had a very, very professional look about it. It wasn't like some kind of second-hand promoter or promotion. Everything was done
to a high standard.
To a high standard, yeah. So it must be impressive for you as well as a fighter that you haven't got to worry about none of that, right?
No, it's perfect. I mean, leading up to my fight, they sent a team of camera people down to get footage on 2 different occasions. They had Izzy and the team go to my primary school.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
You know, they're not just getting a bit of work here and there and thinking, well,
taking shortcuts.
We'll use that.
They're putting the time
They're going
in.
all into it. You know, they're looking at the local people, the local community. You know, you look at the show in Coventry. You know, they had myself, they had Bradley, who's local, they had River, who's local.
Yeah.
They then had a few fighters from Birmingham who are obviously still local to Coventry. I've been going on small hall shows, which is great, but this is like a big show for them, etc. And for them to be showcased on that, get the same sort of treatment I did, is great for them as well. It's great for their fan base. You know, if their fan base can go to small venues, etc., and enjoy it, and then when they get taken to the Sky Dome with over 3,000 people there, there's the lights, there's cameras, there's DJs, there's everything. It's an amazing atmosphere for them. It's an amazing entertainment package, and that's how I see it as well. Is it's not just having people come and support you for your fight, which a lot of people will solely come and watch that one person they know and then leave. This what they did is they created a package for everyone. It weren't just we'll stay, watch one fight and go. People stayed in the venue to watch the fights. You know, don't get me wrong. You myself and Bradley and River, etc., sold good tickets, you know? And it's all about fighting in front of big crowds as well. You see a lot of some of the
attracting
TV
a new audience
shows,
as well.
But you see some of the TV shows, and you look in the crowd, you look away from the box, you look in the crowd, and the stand's half empty, or there's people hardly in there, and you think that's all right if you're watching it at home because you don't really care about that. But for the fighters that are in there, for people who are going to watch as well, it doesn't build up that atmosphere.
And,
no, definitely. And I think the main reason for people buying tickets and going to watch boxing live, whether you know them or not, is it has that atmosphere to 100%. It. That's what you're paying for.
Exactly.
You know, you go to some of the massive fights, Wembley. You probably look at Saudi now. The money for them tickets is high end.
It's a completely different atmosphere over there, right?
You're not paying for just the boxing, because if you want to pay for just the boxing, you probably buy it on TV and watch it because you're going to get the best view there. You're paying for that atmosphere, for the crowd, for everything there, the entertainment factor of it all. And I think that's what GBM are bringing to it. They're bringing an entertainment factor to it.
Definitely. Obviously, you were on obviously last as the main event. I got there fairly early on the night, so I wanted to watch a few local fighters like River. But it was crazy that the atmosphere was still there at the end, right? Still everyone there cheering you on. There was still a good, I don't know if there's a few hundred, a couple of thousand, but it just seemed like it was, like I said, more so the atmosphere in the arena, right? And how did that feel walking into the ring and seeing that huge crowd behind you?
No, it's great. I mean, it adds that extra bit of pressure.
Yeah.
As I have mentioned before, you know, there is that extra pressure that you've got a big crowd coming to watch you, and
How do you
you know them
how do
individually
do
as
you
well.
like the pressure? Do
No,
you?
I
is
think
it-
I thrive off
Yeah.
that added pressure. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, there is other bits of pressure that you probably get under, you know,
Yeah.
like with the title being up for
Yeah.
grabs,
Yeah.
etc. That adds a
Is it
bit
a
more
case
pressure.
of being able to calm yourself to a certain
I'm
extent?
quite
Controlled aggression.
yeah, it is controlled aggression. I mean, in my fights, it's controlled aggression, and people see a different side to me from what they do now and outside the ring.
I think
I'm
that's
quite calm and
common
collective
at most boxers, right?
and laid back.
It's like a
and,
split
yeah,
personality in some ways.
once I build up to that fight on the day and start focusing on the fight, I go into this frenzy, and sometimes it needs to be just left alone, just to focus. It is sole focus on the
Yeah,
fight.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
sometimes you don't even see things what's going on around you. You're just solely focused on that one job, and I think the pressure helps.
Yeah.
It gives me more determination and desire to make sure I do
You
win.
channel it in the right way.
Yeah,
essentially,
some
yeah.
people it can make
Can
them
make or break
extremely
you, right?
nervous. I wouldn't say that any fighter never gets nerves.
Yeah,
But-
I think in most instances you get nerves. It's what you
Yeah,
do with those nerves,
I think if
right?
you didn't get nerves, there'd be something slightly wrong with your head. But I think it's how you channel those nerves. And again, it's like fire. You know, if you can control it, it
Yeah.
can heat your house.
That's
up,
the
it can
best
cook
way
your
of
food.
describing it.
If you
Yeah.
can't, it'll burn your house down around you. And that's the thing. I think that Customata Mike Tyson said about that.
Yeah.
And again, it's just how you control stuff, and it can definitely benefit you.
Oh, definitely. And with regards to future plans, then with GBM Sports, what has Izzy got in the pipeline for you? Is it a case of defending the title a few times? Again, you've only had 11 professional fights, so technically it's quite early in your career. I know you're going to have your eyes on the world title as well, but is it a case of still continuing to learn the ropes, continuing to defend the title? What has he got in line for you at the moment?
It's very up in the air in terms of what route. Within boxing, it's
Because there's
very
different organisations.
It changes all the time.
Mm.
You know, sometimes people go, "Wow, well, now you've got a European, shouldn't you be going for like a Commonwealth or a world?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, right. Boxing doesn't work in a generic
doesn't,
order. You know,
no.
if you're football, you go quarterfinal, semi-final, final,
Yeah. It's
World
not like
Cup.
that at
Whatever.
all.
It doesn't work like that. It's not that same thing. You know, people. I've won the IBF European title. There's a couple of other European titles out there. But again, then you got to look back at, right, there is an English title on offer. There is a British title on offer.
Yeah.
There's Commonwealth. There is so many different bouts out there and achievements you can win. And I think you've also got to look at like longevity of career.
Yeah.
Some people will jump up way too quick.
Yeah.
Once you're there, you can't come back. So I've given Izzy and the team.
This is his job now, right? He's got
These
to
are
be
the things that I want to
very
look
careful.
at winning or fighting for over the next 12 to 14 months.
How much input do you have in terms of the matchmaking? Because I know in boxing there's a lot of politics and it's often hard with the matchmaking to get the fights that you want. But obviously, as a European champion now, you probably hold a lot of the cards. So
Yeah, I don't think, me personally, I have a lot of. I do have say, but I don't think I, as a fighter, should have a lot of say.
Yeah.
Because as a fighter, I'd fight anyone.
You
Anywhere.
have a bit of clouded judgment. Yeah, like you said,
That's where it's
the mentality you need, though, right?
It's my manager's job. It's my coach Edwin's job.
Yeah.
To decide, yes, this is the right pick for today, or this probably the style doesn't suit. Let's look at someone else on the same sort of level but different style or different stance, etc. And you need your dance partners to make the fights.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes you can fight someone that their style just doesn't fit, and it's a crap fight. It's rubbish. You don't want to watch it because it's boring, or you find that dance partner and it works really well.
Yeah.
And it's a great fight to watch. You know, you look at a lot of British title fights. They're wicked fights to watch.
Yeah.
You know, only recently, in my weight class, you've had Belotti and Dillon fight each other. It was a brawl from start to finish, and again, that fight put my ears up a little bit because obviously, you know, Belotti's now got the British and the Commonwealth.
Okay.
So I have put that forward to Izzy. Look, let's put this on the radar. I understand the WBO European's vacant as well at the moment.
Yeah.
So again, there are other titles I'd like to try and pick up on. But then I'm not looking too far ahead in terms of you've got an English title fight in the next month, I think it is. You've got Gomez Jr. versus Kane Baker.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another massive scrap. And again,
There's a lot of options out
there's
there for you,
options
right?
all over the place.
There's actually a lad who I had on this podcast. I think he may be the same weight division as you. I don't know if you've heard of him. You may know who I'm going to say. Gully Power.
Yeah, I know.
He's super featherweight. And again, I think he's quite early in his career as well. I know you said about it needs to be the right fight in terms of matchmaking. It can't be a stink fest. It needs to be a crowd pleaser. And I always look at that at styles, and obviously he's quite a come forward fighter.
Yeah.
You're quite a come forward fighter. So potentially further down the line, that could be a good one if you're past.
This is what I mean. I think they also mentioned about is it Frak Ali who was also there watching, and I think he's super featherweight, and I watched him on the Sheffield show, and there's mentions of it, but one, I'm not one to call people anyway, and two, I've just won a European. I want to be progressing. I'm not saying that's taken a drop, but what I'm saying is my rankings have gone up massively. I think I'm top 8 in Britain at the moment, and I think top 15, 20 in Europe. So
you want to keep
learning. Me, I want to keep progressing in that aspect. And I think Frak and Gully, they're both still getting in that within them first 10 fights.
I think they're
just still building themselves up. And I think I'm not turning a blind eye to it, but what I'm saying is that
the timing has to be right.
The timing needs to be right. If we're going to do it now, what's the point?
That's the big thing.
No one's getting nothing out of it, really.
I think that's the same as we discussed this before the podcast. Dalton Smith and Adam Azim, they could fight now, and it could be great now, or they're both on the trajectory to be world champions. Why not do it then in an absolute blockbuster of a fight, right?
And I'm not all about money, but for a good payday.
Listen, you're putting your health on the line. The pay needs to be right. Essentially,
Dalton's actually progressed very quickly. I think it's 16.
Yeah, 15, 16 fights. Yeah.
And obviously looking now, look at bridge of a world title level. And again, I think Eddie understands that once he's hit that level, you can't start coming back down. Even taking a drop now down to Adam Azim for a European title now is a drop in terms of what they're doing.
Which is why
that
Eddie
fight is like it's a 50-50 fight. It's what the British public want to see.
Yeah.
And I think Eddie Hearn knows that. And
that's why give your opinion on it. Who you think would win that at this stage?
I've seen both. I've actually sparred with Adam before in the amateurs a long time ago. I'm judging this on more of their amateur pedigree and experience. Dalton Smith was on GB for a period of time. Adam
he won a hell of a lot of national titles, didn't he?
I think Adam was on the brink of getting into GB and maybe took that professional route instead. They both had a lot of amateur fights, probably both got a lot of amateur pedigrees, but I think probably Dalton Smith just about judges it.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that he indefinitely wins that fight. I said,
like you said, anything could happen.
Go any way.
I can see there being fireworks. In that fight.
Adam Smith's quite a powerful fighter for his weight. But again, they've both seen challenges. Against I think it was his last fight, Adam's team's last fight. He was expected to get the lad out early for the European early, but it didn't. It went on to the latter rounds of the fight, and then he got him out. And again, sometimes it's about.
And I think that was a shoulder dislocation or something, wasn't it? Was
I'm not sure, but I know that at first people, he was getting caught with a few shots back as well. It opens people's eyes and think, okay, I kind of expect him just to go steamrolling through everyone. It's not always the same case in boxing, because different styles, people being unpredictable. I mean.
Which is probably what he needs to do, right? Is learn the ropes, be able to adapt to the difference, like have those learning fights. And
was he the youngest? Was he Britain's youngest European champion?
He's probably about 3 or 4 fights behind Dalton Smith, I'd say.
Yeah, and again, I think he's got to still them 3 or 4 fights. He's still got to be progressing and having big fights. Who knows what's going to happen? I think that they might end up getting it because the British public want it.
Yeah,
and it's going to probably sell.
Yeah. I just hope they wait.
But whether Ben Shalom and Eddie can communicate that between themselves, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of stuff going on with boxer, etc. and stuff, so I don't know what the whole idea behind that is.
I think it's good. It's the first time in a while. Like I said, I've always been a big fan of boxing, but I think I went through a period where big fights weren't getting made and you lose a bit of interest in the sport. But at the minute, I think, like yourself, there's so many good fighters coming through now with exciting, aggressive styles that I think boxing will be booming again soon, especially in the UK with obviously Izzy and GBM Sports. But yeah, let's go back on to talking about you anyway. That's what we're here for. So far, obviously, you've had a short, I'd say, professional career so far. 11 fights in. Obviously, had a very good amateur career. What would you say has been probably one of the hardest moments of your boxing career so far? Because I know, especially in the pro game, it can be tough. Obviously, when you turn over pro, in many instances, unless you've got a big promoter, you're often having to sell tickets just to pay your way and pay for your opponents, right? So, what would you say was probably one of your most difficult moments as a?
I've got two, but one's more of a frustration, and one is being a hard moment. And the first one is I had my first pro fight, looked to fight on a Channel 5 show in the March, and COVID hit. So I know COVID gets brought up a lot.
Did you turn pro just before COVID?
Just before.
Oh, that must have been
so
awful.
again, I had one fight, so I had a feel to it.
Yeah.
Had a second one ready, and a week before that fight, everything gets stopped. So that's
What was going through your mind at that point?
out. I just thought, well,
What do I
when's
do
this
now?
going to stop?
Yeah.
Because COVID seems to go on for ages.
Were you training throughout COVID? Or?
Luckily, I was still able to train.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I think later into the pandemic, they brought out that professional athletes can train. So again, that allowed me to go and train in the gym, etc. and stuff, and it's better. But yeah, that was it. It was like a massive stop in my career. It was like I just started it, and already again a year and a half where I can't get a fight.
Yeah.
It's frustrating again. But then again,
it's easy to get disheartened when you get to
it
that
just seemed to go on for ages.
Is this worth it?
But everyone was in the same boat as such, so it was better. But the second one would be frustration in terms of not being able to pick a promotional deal up. You know, I felt like no matter what I did, I keep winning how I was winning. I keep stopping people and opponents. You know, I was doing everything possible, and we'd go to some of these promoters and say, "Oh, would you not look at doing something?" You know, I sell over 400 tickets every majority of my fights. What else could I do? And it was almost like, well, they'd say, we've got too many fighters signed, etc.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating because it's almost like we're just, and that's
So
when
what have I gotta
GBA
do?
came.
Yeah.
GBM came along.
So how
at
did
perfect time?
How did that come about? I still didn't get what is it that drew Izzy to you then?
So I think Izzy had already
Did he see that potential in you?
Yeah, I think he'd already heard about my name and watched a bit of me, but I think solely it came from so Al's Yester, he's now the new I think managing director of, and he's the international matchmaker. So we first met Al at the boxer show that I fought on at Resorts World Arena.
Yeah,
I think that was about a year and a half prior to signing.
Who was is that the Boazzi?
The Boazzi, yeah.
Boazzi card,
show,
yeah.
So that's where we first met Al. And I think definitely opened his eyes up because he was matching them fights and he offered us an opponent. And Edwin showed me the opponent and straight away went, nah, no chance, get someone better.
Okay.
And he went,
really?
I think he didn't understand because a lot of people, they got offered someone which is seen as a walkover fight or a fight they shouldn't.
They'd be like, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take that, no problem.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't want to be fighting people.
I get that
people
feel
look
from
at
you.
People look at the records. You know, not a lot of people will follow boxing, but I've got people who come to majority of my fights and they ask me, who are you fighting? And they'll do their own little bit of research on the fight.
Yeah.
And BoxRec's right in front of you. You can see the opponent's records.
Exactly, who they fought.
And you know, there's genuine, and people need to fight genuine to learn and gain experience and build their profile up. I was at a point where I thought, no, I need to be getting better opposition. Yeah. And I think that turned his head and thought, we don't get many people do that. And again, then they got me an opponent and I stopped him, which he hadn't been stopped by another Brit before. Yeah. And I spoke to him after, and obviously his translator spoke to me as well. And he know me. So he said, I just couldn't read you. He said, I was getting hit with shots everywhere, all over. He said, I just couldn't read it.
It's a strange old rhythm you've got. And a way of fighting.
And he said, you need to just keep in it. It's whereas a praise. He said, you need to keep doing that. You need to be keep being unpredictable.
Do that, but more. Yeah.
And it's not like I don't go headhunting. You know, it's very body head. You know, mix it up. don't throw just the same shots left, right, left, right. It's not the same. It always varies. And again, that's unpredictability. And sometimes people can't deal with the unpredictability of fighters.
Yeah.
I think that turned his head. Al thought, crikey, he's actually stopped this lad as well. Again, they put me on at like 5 o'clock, first on. But my crowd was already in there.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So, again, Ben Shalom praised me. He
I
did
saw
a video.
That. Yeah, I've seen the video.
He's never
Ben
seen
Shalom.
an arena
good
so
words to say
packed
about
at
you.
5 o'clock
in
the afternoon. Again, so, my tickets had come through and sort of helped me out.
It's a testament to your crowd, right? They're willing to get there early, getting there early, and
they're
dedicated to watching you.
And I think then Al's now moved, obviously, with GBM. And he thought, well, why we're not pushing this lad into GBM? And again, he we got a deal sorted. And
awesome.
I hate saying I'm not a golden boy as such, but at that time, I was one of the only signings and probably had the most experience and was always pretty much ready to go fight for titles. And now I'm currently the only signing with a title at the moment they've got, and that will probably change in the next few weeks because I know they've got Shaquille Thompson signed and he's fighting for.
I think it's a growing promotional
European
company,
titles
right?
now. So again, they're just going to be signing fighters who are going to be picking up titles, and again, it adds to the GBM's caliber. And I think, if I'm honest, they've got Talk Sport at the moment. I think they'll get TV next year. I'm not surprised if they don't. If they do, sorry, because. They're doing everything right, and they're getting fighters from various parts of the country, so they can put on multiple shows all over the country. And they're getting fighters of a good caliber. Who are gonna then be picking up titles along the way. And again, that shows. TV want people who are going to put on big fights for titles, etc.
Exactly. They're doing things the right way, aren't they? And it can only lead to
bigger things.
To bigger things. Certainly, but. One of the other things that I wanted to mention as well, and a bit of a random thing that I came across is I know you're kind of well travelled. You've been over to the US a few times. We were speaking before the podcast that you spent a day with Sugar Ray Leanord, right? How did that come about?
So a good friend of mine actually won it in an auction. It was a trip, a trip of a lifetime, as they could call it, to take 8 people with him to LA. And meet Sugar Ray Leanord. Well, I see this as probably a lot of people could probably win this in an auction, etc.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, they probably win it. But you win the day with Sugar Ray Leanord.
Yeah.
You don't win the hotel, the flights.
So you actually spent the whole day with him.
So we spent the whole day with him, but we spent 6 days over there all in all. And Pat Cassidy took us over with him.
Yeah.
He took myself, he took Edwin, he took another boxer called Amanda down the gym, and he took Daryl who PTs him over, and then 3 of his other friends. So there was a group of us, and it was a trip of a lifetime. We've seen and done things that some people dream to do.
Yeah.
And it was pretty surreal. But what I also take from it is Pat had always told us whilst we were over there that. When we see Sugar Ray Leanord, you'll realise that he's just another man
guy
with 2 arms, 2 legs, right? Anyone can do what he's done as well if they've got the right perseverance.
Don't be starstruck,
He's just another person. He's not. He's seen as like one of the greatest of all time.
I think that's the best attitude to have.
But he is just a person. It's the same with every other champion. They are just a person, but they've just got that desire, that will to win, and determination, dedication.
You can do what they're doing, right?
Yeah, and you very much see that when we first went to the house. This house is massive. You come to the gates.
What did you do for the whole day with them?
So we got to his probably late morning.
Yeah.
You drive in. There's big gates, etc. You're welcomed by the people that they've got there that work in there, etc.
Yeah.
And then they show you into. What you see is probably his gym. He does a lot of his podcasts and interviews and videos in this room.
Yeah,
he's got all the old fight pictures, etc., gloves, etc., all over the walls. He's got his own gym equipment and a TV, etc., and stuff in there as well. And then all of a sudden we're looking around, and all of a sudden he just walks in. So you're a bit starstruck. And obviously we spoke about the general boxing stuff that
Yeah.
everyone probably will speak to him about.
How far along were you in your boxing journey at that point? You were a professional at the time,
Yeah, I
right?
think I had about 3 or 4 professional fights.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you get any advice off him?
we probably got more so life
Advice. Yeah.
rather than
Which
just
goes hand in
boxing
hand.
advice. Yeah,
in
I
some
mean,
instances, right?
I mean, we showed him a few clips of say my fights and the other lad of man's fights, and, he's obviously complimentary of it. And I think because the way I box is completely different to how he boxes.
Yeah.
He's very much traditional boxing.
Yeah.
He's flashy, he's quick.
Yeah.
I'm a bit different. And I think he kind of compared me a little bit to Roberto Duran sort of style of fighting, which is also a good thing. And I watch a lot of Roberto Duran and take things from his skill set. He's a very clever fighter. I think he's probably underestimated in terms of
massively.
how clever he was.
I think sometimes people think it's just brute force, right? But it's not.
Clever. It was tactical. So yeah, we spent hours talking to him, etc. And he even went into speaking about his personal life, his upbringing, and some sad stories. To be fair, about his upbringing, etc. But we also got to have a FaceTime with Tommy Hearns.
Oh wow!
So he FaceTimed Tommy Hearns whilst we were there. That was great to see.
So is he still quite close?
Yeah, them two are both. They both speak to each other on a daily basis.
Oh wow! Okay.
He spoke at the time. Marvin Hagler was alive, so he would speak to Marvin quite a lot, and they had quite a good friendship. He said the only person he didn't really speak that much, but was still close to, was Duran. But I think it was because he lived back in Panama, etc. Maybe language barrier, etc. And but they both made a hell of a fight, and a story behind it as well. The tension between them both for that fight, and the whole no mass fight and all this. But then we obviously went down to his cinema room and watched a film in there with him. We got the popcorn out, had lunch with him as well. Yeah, and again, we're just constant conversation because there's so much you want to know about him, or
so
he wants to know about you as well.
You need to tell me what auction this is, because it sounds like a good prize to to win.
We spent a whole day there, and then we also went to the Wildcard Gym whilst we was over there as well, which was great. Trained with Freddie Roach. Was Freddie there? Was he? Yeah, he was there. We were lucky that he was there doing a session and invited us down into his private gym. So there's the main gym upstairs, which everyone will see on social media.
Was there a private bit to Wildcard as well?
Downstairs,
I didn't know that.
Which he does a lot of the personal one-to-one training with.
Did you manage to get any pads done with
not
Freddie?
pads, but we did have a session in there sparring, doing pads ourselves, and then spoke to him for hours. Which was great.
Oh, awesome.
Very down to earth person. As well. And then I'm lucky enough that I'm going back to America in June, and fingers crossed, all goes to plan and get to meet Sugar again.
Awesome.
So I have stayed in contact with him.
So
fingers crossed we can go and visit him again.
That's what you call networking.
Might not be a whole day, but it might be just an hour or so.
It's
but
good though to mix in that company, understand what they've done to get to where they are. You can always take little bits and pieces from those fighters, right?
Yeah, and obviously with going over there, it's opportunity to go and experience the difference of boxing in American gyms. Cause boxing's massive in America as well. So it's going to be a great experience when I go back over there to see what it's like and hopefully see him again. So
good stuff. But so what's in the pipeline for you then for the next kind of few weeks, months? You're back in the gym already, you were saying earlier. So
I haven't stopped.
How soon were you back into the gym?
I fought on Saturday, day off Sunday. I was back in Monday training twice today. I've stepped it back up now after a couple of weeks of just going for the motion still twice a day.
Do you ever have the risk of overtraining? And obviously, I know you know what you're capable of, or how do you kind of how do you gauge that in terms of when to take your foot off the pedal and when to put it on?
Yeah, I mean, being full time, I think there is that tendency to overtrain because you can train.
Just train as
you
much
have that
as
availability
you want,
to go and train.
You just listen to your body, and is it?
Edwin's very, very good at judging it. We'll have had say it's been just over 2 weeks now since I fought. So them 2 weeks, it's quite relaxed. If I come into the boxing gym in the evening with everyone else, and I'll go and jump in with a few of the younger kids, etc., or the teens, for example. I'll move around with them. I can work on a few things. I play around and have a bit of fun as well with them as well. I'm still training. I'm still getting a good sweat on and training. But it's almost that relaxed feel
different
to it.
intensity,
You
right?
know, I can do a few rounds, etc., and then get out, do a few bag rounds on the bag, and then I can just finish up. You know, then probably more so now. You know, we're getting the sessions back up and running. It's very focused. And again, leading up to fights, it gets more and more focused. And I think that's when, you know, the amount of training goes up. But Edwin's very good, and I think he's learnt that from when he was up at the Ingles in Sheffield. He'd always say, "Oh, Brendan would turn around." I ain't doing the accent because I can't do it, but in his Irish / Sheffield accent, come in, do your footwork, and no, 2 weeks prior to the fight, and Edwin was saying, but I feel like I've got pins in my hands. I just want to exert some energy. You go, no, do your footwork. Oh. And I think that's what they did, and Edwin sort of installs that in terms of leading up to the fight the week before. Maybe
keep you on a leash, so to speak, right?
Just calm down, relax. You know, make sure your weight's there, but don't do too much. Almost just save all that energy up and bundle it up. Because I think you can overtrain. I mean,
you need to peak at the right time.
Sometimes fights are lost in the gym. One, either you've been sparring too hard for too long. You've been overtraining.
I think is what Ricky Hatton said that, didn't he? Towards the end of his career, his last couple of fights, he I think it was with Floyd Mayweather Senior, maybe because he was a new trainer, pushed him too far, and he goes, I was done by the time I got in there.
No, you see it, and I think it's more you know, what you got to look at is probably like 3 to 4 weeks before your fight. You're making weight.
Yeah.
So you're more prone to injury as well. Your body's got less energy anyway.
Pushed it to such
a
limit.
You pushed it to a level. You know, as your weight's coming down, your immune system's not as good as it normally is. So you're more chance of getting ill. So you have to take them into consideration. And again, when you're fatigued, there's more chance of you getting injuries. That's not what you want to be doing 3-4 weeks before a fight. You know, that risk of getting an injury.
When do you taper off? How close to the
I start tapering off probably like 2 weeks before.
2 weeks before.
We'll get our sparring in, and again, we'll go to Acox Green over Birmingham. They got the Gibbs brothers spar over there. You know, there's other gyms that will come over to us and spar Eastside, etc. And it's all well and good, but we've got a bit of, especially myself, because I've had a lot of experience. It might change the bigger the fights get. But currently we'll do head sparring, but we won't do loads and loads. I won't be head sparring 3-4 times a week for 4 or 5 weeks. I think sometimes it's just too much. You know, we'll have a few spars maybe twice a week for 2 to 3 weeks. You know, it's more so for me. It's just getting that spatial awareness, the head movement back when we're training on a daily basis. We spar every day. We do body sparring only, and then leading up to fights, we'll do the head sparring. Again, that's just getting rid of that little bit of rust. Some gyms will head spar all the time. Throughout the whole year.
This is.
And again, then you come to worry when their fighters look to turn pro and they go to get brain scans. And they're failing it, and you think, well, why is that? Because you've been head sparring continuously for years. And again, you can see the difference. Sometimes they might fail.
That's probably where you take most of your damage is in sparring, isn't it?
But probably because you have a head guard on as well, and you feel
so
like
you can absorb more
that level of protection, but it hasn't. You still,
which is like
your brain's still rattling around in your head.
Changed the rules in the amateurs, haven't they? They've got rid of the head guards, which is probably a good shout because I know you think you can just keep taking punishment, right? But obviously without the head guard, you're a lot more conscious of.
And again, you know, people may fail on a brain scan. They'll have a few weeks of not doing any sort of sparring, head sparring. Go back, and they'll pass. And that shows, doesn't it? Even if it's just over 3 weeks, your brain is constantly changing and adapting, and if your head's getting hit continuously over weeks and weeks, you're going to see changes.
This is a very mature mindset that you've got then, just from everything that you're telling me, from your training to your sparring to the way that you live your life. Where has that come from? Is that passed down to you from your coach, or where do you get that knowledge from?
I'd say so, but I think it's a
mature head you've got on your shoulders.
But so I've got this desire to win all the time. Everything I do.
But you're not reckless though. You're doing things the right way, the sensible way.
I think it's because Edwin's educated me as I'm going through. Again, my parents, my girlfriend, they're all supportive of what I'm doing. And I feel like, again, I've been full time now. This is my third year being a full time athlete.
Yeah.
I think since turning full time, when I first turned full time and had the backing that I have from the sponsors I've got, it's tremendous. And almost, I feel like I'm in debt to them. If you know what I mean, they wouldn't look at it that way. They're providing me with what I can to live my dream and seek the rewards for it as well. You know, that winning that European title again was a massive thing for me. That thank you to my sponsors for saying, look, this is what you've all been investing in me and helping me with, and look, we've just gone and won it.
Yeah.
And again, I think being full time, it gave me that turning point in my head that thought, I've got these people investing their hard-earned cash in me to be able to train as a full-time athlete. I've got to make sure I do everything right.
Yeah.
So there's no missing sessions. There's no abusing your body. There's no. I don't drink anyway, but there's no going out and.
Yeah. How do you live in between fights? Like you said, like
I do enjoy myself. Like,
sacrifice the social side, right?
I like to go away on the odd holiday here and there. You know, I'm a very social person, so I will go watch my mates. I can't play football anymore, obviously. But I go and watch them play football on the weekend.
Yeah.
But,
you said you're not a drinker, or
no, I don't drink. You know, there might be the odd occasion.
Yeah.
Very, very.
I don't think
rare.
drinking and boxing goes hand in hand.
No, it doesn't. And I think even diet. You know, I like my food. Every boxer who has to make a weight, they'll say, I can't wait to be able to eat normally.
How are you making the weight as well?
Very comfortable.
Yeah.
This time around, actually,
Super feather. What's
super
that?
Feather, it's 59 kilo
59.
max. I actually made this one better than I've ever done.
Yeah.
I'd made it 2 days prior to the weigh-in.
Better nutrition? You think this time learning your body, how it works, and
I think
how it responds?
I think there's always like this case, and this can probably down. There's people with better education than me on terms of nutrition and S&C and stuff like that. And I think each person individually has a different DNA as such in terms of if you've got to lose weight, that a certain person might do one. If you put 5 people in front of us and said, right, you all have to follow this program, they wouldn't all see the same changes. I think it's dependent on the person. And again, I think it's about having that plan there. It's not just going off what you think's best.
Yeah.
There's science behind a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Nutrition's a massive part of boxing, I feel.
Do you have a nutritionist at the moment?
Not currently.
Yeah.
But I have, gained experience.
Yeah.
Through like nutritional values and stuff.
Yeah.
But, I have had guidance from that as well. But I think nutrition is a massive thing. Because there's fighters that have to make weights. The weights that fighters make, they aren't natural to that person. I don't walk around at 59 kilo.
What do you walk around at?
Probably weigh about 64, 65 kilo.
Okay, so you don't go massively.
It's not massive.
Yeah,
but I think that's again another thing. If I say took like 2 months out, no training, eating what you want, like, you're gonna you're gonna naturally balloon up, aren't you, and go heavier, and probably a more what you see as a natural weight for someone of my age, for example. But that's again going to put you a back step in your career. I feel Ricky Hatton will probably say the same thing. Yeah, he was known for ballooning up and then making weights.
Up with him eventually. And I don't know whether that would have happened anyway, but it felt like one had been through wars. But
they used to say about some of the training camps, and I think sometimes I hate the use of the word camp, a training camp, because I see it as you should always be ticking over and always be in the gym training. And all right, don't get me wrong. When you know you got a fight date, you might put it in a bracket of right. We've got 8 weeks now to the fight. We need to really focus now and step things up. Right, this week we're going to be pushing on this.
Yeah.
This week we're going to get loads of sparring in. Next week we're going to focus on this, etc.
Yeah.
So then they probably do class that as a training camp. But I think if you don't keep track of your weight and you go into this training camp while out of your comfort zone, you're going to focus your first 3 to 4 weeks just trying to lose weight. And again, you're not going to be able to train properly because you're carrying excess weight and it's that much harder. And then you go then to the latter end of that training camp, then focusing on the more technical stuff and that. And you just
start on the back foot.
Yeah, you missed a gap, haven't you?
I've seen this with a lot of professionals, and it's probably more so important for the younger up and coming fighters, where, like you said, they'll focus on the camp, so to speak, and let their weight fluctuate quite a bit in between camps. And I think especially when you're early on in your career, you don't know what opportunities are going to get put in front of you. And often when you are chasing titles, sometimes you'd only get 4, 5, 6 weeks notice, and you need to be reasonably ready and need to be ticking over to take those opportunities, right? So you don't know when they're going to come along. And I think this needs to be, especially like I said, for the youngsters who do turn over to the professional game. There's no such thing as camps, right? It's a case of continue to tick over.
It is, because people turning over, or maybe even still in the amateurs, they see these top level fighters, Canelo, etc.
I think that's what it is. They see the top level fighters, and they
probably fight twice a year, once maybe, but they can because they're.
What's your thoughts on that? The fighting once or twice a year. Do you think it's good when you get to that level? Should they be more active like it was in the Sugar Ray days when you?
But I think again that comes along with money, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's fighters.
It's a driving factor
that are
now
earning probably 10 times
game.
the amount what say Sugar Ray Leanord, etc. might have done for fights.
What's your thoughts on Saudi Arabia as well, with a lot of the boxing, the big fights going over there? In some ways, I know it's good because it's a prize fighting sport. You're putting your body and your health on the line. You want to get the most money you can. So I don't think there's anything against that. But
it's a very short career, isn't it?
It's a short career, but from a selfish point of view, from a boxing fan in the UK, it's taking it away from where we are, right? The home has now gone. Tyson Fury said it himself. He's like, my home for a while now is Saudi Arabia. So what's your thoughts on it? Is it good for boxing? Is it bad for boxing?
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think people might start to think a bit more that way and give it a few more months. Because if you look at it, Saudi are putting big money on the table for fighters. So these top fighters who are probably looking the last few fights of their career, etc., who again would probably have had world title defences or world title fights. They're on the brink of world titles. They'll be fighting for world titles. They'll be fighting in the UK, selling arenas out, etc., and still making good money, right? They can have them fights now over in Saudi and probably make
10 times
the amount, right? But what it's doing now is they're not taking loads of fighters over there. You look at this new one, the 5v5 Queensbury versus Matchroom, right? That's going to be 10 top level fighters from each. Well, it's 5 from each promotion, right? So that's 10 top level fighters going over there, right?
Yeah.
It leaves space for other fighters who might not have got that opportunity to fight at the top of the bill on a big show in the UK.
That's a good point.
To fight. Yeah. And again, I think you're going to see these top fighters going over there and cashing in. But then after they've cashed in, they'll think, well, I don't need to keep fighting now. Look, I've just earned this much money.
Yeah.
They'll probably retire.
Paves the way for the...
So again, I don't think it speeds it up as such, but it might speed it up a little bit in terms of some fighters might go, well, let's just get a couple more fights in over there.
Yeah.
And that'll do me. It depends what their aspirations are. But I think then for British boxing, it will see massive rewards because, Queensbury and Matchroom, they're going to be making more money than they've ever made. Yeah. With being over in Saudi, so they're going to have more purse behind them. Yeah. To sign more fighters. Yeah. And give them better deals as well. Because they've got that pot of money that they're probably being told. Yeah. Please go and use it, and they're going to be using it within boxing. So they're probably going to put more shows on. They're going to put bigger shows. I know that the
Fury fight.
Well, I know that the Excellency has already said that he wants to come and put something on in Wembley already.
Oh, okay. Has he?
So
I didn't hear that.
Even after just doing a few shows in Saudi, for about a year, he already wants to come to the UK because he knows. Okay. I think he knows sport. He knows that. Yeah.
It sounds like he does.
Brits are boxing fans. That's why they come watch it. You put it over in Saudi, and all right, you're going to get some Brits come over there and watch the British fighters, etc. But you're going to get a lot of people who live in the country going to watch them. Yeah. And is the atmosphere as good? From fans? Probably not. Yeah. The whole entertainment package is amazing. You've seen dance shows, you've seen singers, you name it, it's there. Yeah. So him coming to the UK as well, he's going to open up a lot more doors. I think because he's going to set a standard. Yeah. And people are going to buy into that. You might start seeing a bit more where it's an entertainment package where it's not just your boxing. You've got other sides of entertainment happening before fights, after fights, in intervals, etc.
I think there are often a few big fights as well that, for whatever reason, weren't getting made, whether it be Fury Usyk, or Fury Joshua. But I think now they seem much more possible, if they haven't been made already, that they can happen, because I think when there's that much money being thrown at it, those boxers can't say no, right? Because now they're like, okay, now it's worthwhile. Previously, if it may have been the UK, there may not have been enough money on the line for them to take a risk that they don't need to take. But now it's a case of, if the money's there, they can't say no, right?
That's it's probably a sad part of it, that it all falls down to money, because you look at
It's the world now,
if
isn't it?
you look
Unfortunately,
at the 80s when you had the four kings.
yeah, definitely
Them
not
four
about
were
the money.
fighting each other
Yeah.
2 to 3 times.
Yeah.
For what? For one title.
Yeah.
It weren't like they had 4 or 5 world titles to fight for. It was
Yeah,
for
yeah,
one.
yeah.
And it was just to get that one that prize of being world champion. And that's I think why you used to see such exciting fights. Back you still see exciting fights now.
Yeah.
You don't see as many, but you don't see I don't think you see an era of.
It didn't revolve around the money back then, right?
No, it
Revolved
didn't.
around
Obviously,
the
the money was
titles.
there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For them at that time, but you saw that desire to win titles, and I think you still need to have that aspirations in as a boxer. You're not just fighting for money, because I think once you start chasing money, the fights don't come.
Yeah.
And you've seen it a lot lately with probably these big fights, and they say, "Oh, it's not about money," but then they look at how the purse is split, and you think, "Well, it is, isn't it? Because you're splitting it 70-30 or whatever in favour of the home fighter, etc." And if you're fighting for world titles, why shouldn't it be split quite evenly?
Yeah.
And I think, there's more so that desire to earn more money rather than let's pick up some titles. I think that's where you're seeing the downside of probably misfits boxing or this celebrity boxing is.
What's your thoughts on that?
It's
the whole Jake Paul.
I can see why they do it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily follow it or want to watch it.
Yeah.
But you then gain a different audience.
Yeah.
So people who are very much into YouTube, and
if it brings
seeing
them
these
into boxing,
YouTube
it's
stars
good,
or celebrity stars of programs, etc. People watch. They'll watch and tune in, won't they? So it broadens the audience. The only downside I'd say again would be it falls down to money. They're fighting for money, not because they actually want to box.
Yeah.
Then even the likes of myself, people who I've had 100 fights all in all now. So I had 89 amateur. I've had 11 pro fights now. I've had 100 fights. Still working my way through the ranks. Someone comes from YouTube, fights, I don't know, some other celebrity, and earns 10 times what I've ever earned in my whole life.
In their first fight.
Their first fight, which people watch and think, what a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
That's probably the downside to it, that you're taking livelihoods from boxers that have boxed for years and years to get to somewhere.
Yeah.
Not probably getting the gratitude that they deserve, and someone who's come into the game 5 minutes is seeking the rewards.
I think it can only go so far, though, in my mind. Like, I think the first one that I watched was the double header of, I think it was Logan Paul, Dylan Dennis, and Jake Paul. No, it was KSI versus Tommy Fury. It was just a farce. I felt like I wasted about 2 or 3 hours of my life. They were not boxing matches by any means. I think that really damaged the reputation of misfits boxing, because before that, I think it was Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. Which, I don't know if that was misfits or I know it was an actual professional boxing match, but had some credibility to it. Because one thing I'll say is Jake Paul is probably the only one doing it the right way. He looks like he's dedicating himself to it.
I think KSI might be as well, to be fair. But
what did you think of that fight, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury? Because from my perspective, I think it was in the last round, Tommy Fury got caught off balance and went down. But for me, somebody of his stats should not even be getting caught off balance by somebody like Jake Paul.
I think sometimes people look at it wrong. Tommy Fury, right? I'm not taking anything away from him. What has he done in boxing?
Yeah, he's a novice as well, right?
He's still very much a novice, and
didn't have a big amateur career. He had about 13 amateurs, I think he had.
Yeah,
right?
the target is on him because he's Tyson Fury's brother.
Yeah.
Not because he's a top level fighter and he can do this and he can do that. Let's put it on him.
Yeah,
it's because he's Tyson Fury's brother.
Yeah,
and again, there's stardom around being that. Even his dad's got God knows how many people wanted to try and fight him, etc.
Yeah.
And it can be quite amusing at times, but
Yeah.
again, it's just ridiculous. And I think a lot of people think, oh, well, Tommy Fury's a boxer. He's Tyson Fury's brother. He's had a handful of fights, etc. He should be beating this YouTuber.
Yeah.
But realistically, all right, he's probably been in the boxing gym a lot longer than Jake Paul has, etc.
But he's still a novice.
In terms of he's still a novice, he's still learning. He's not really actually learning anything from fighting these people. And it's almost like that thought that he should be as good as his brother. You're not always going to be the case.
Never gonna happen.
And I think you've seen that this weekend with Campbell Hatton. Every single person, who's not on the team, etc., is going, Campbell Hatton, he should be as good as his dad. He's going to be this. He's going to be that.
Like that.
It doesn't. And in most cases, it doesn't. You look at football players. Sometimes their sons come into football, still professional footballers. They ain't as good as their dad's ever going to be.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's wrong to hold them to that they're expecting them to be that good. And I think Campbell Hatton's been drawn into that massively in terms of everyone predicting that he should be winning this, he should be winning that. He's even getting trained by his uncle Matthew, who fought world level. It's wrong. Everyone's got a different trajectory.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that someone's always going to be good at boxing because their dad and their uncle's been pro fighters.
Exactly. I think there was that pressure on Campbell as well to a certain extent fast track him, right? But I don't think he had been fast tracked. He probably had about 13 professional fights.
Yeah, I don't think he had been, and I think they could have easily held him off for another year or so, getting a few more fights from his back, and then try and stuck him in for like an English or something, a little bit higher up or something like that. Eddie did the right thing by getting that central area title. He had a bit of a story behind it. His dad won it 25 years ago.
They had to take that leap with him at some point.
It's just about finding that certain level. And all right, that probably was his level at the moment in terms of he didn't get the decision, etc. But it was a great fight to watch. Yeah. And there's no saying that he can't go back and go for it again, or maybe eventually go one more. You don't know.
Is that a thing in professional boxing where fighters are very protective of their unbeaten records and not wanting to take risks? Because as you mentioned, when you got a fighter put in front of you, you thought, no, I want a tougher opponent, which is quite admirable because I know, especially at the start of professional boxers' careers, they want those learning fights and they want it for as long as possible. If they know they can get a good win in a few rounds, they'll be like, I'll take that. I know there's no risk of me losing, but you were willing to take a bit of a risk, right? And that must mean you have a lot of self-belief and confidence in your own ability.
Yeah, I think that again falls down to what I did in the amateurs. I was quite.
Is it because you knew you had that pedigree behind you in the amateurs?
I was an underdog a lot of time in the amateurs, and I still came through and won. I think that's turns my mindset, thinking, well, you know what, I believe in myself because of it.
Do you fear losing? Do you fear the risk of losing?
There's always that little fear, like, what if I don't win this fight? But I think
don't allow yourself to get taken down that rabbit hole.
If you know that you do enough, and that's again it falls back down to my training. If I know I've done enough, and I know I do enough and more,
you know you haven't cut any corners when you get into that ring. You've done everything in your.
You only lose on someone being slightly better ability,
which you can take. I think what you probably can't take is
if you know you haven't trained hard enough, and you've cut corners and you've hardly been in the gym, or you're just not bothered, etc. And then you go in there and sometimes you always, you speak what's on your mind rather than what you actually done. You speak into the cameras, and someone before a fight's not going to say, I don't think I've had a very good camp. I don't think I've trained as well as I could. They're not going to say that, are they? But sometimes they say all the right things, and sometimes without knowing it in their head, they hypnotise themselves into thinking they actually have.
Yeah.
And then when they come to fight,
it's a shock.
Everyone's expecting this and that.
Yeah.
And over the 5 fights before, you've done this, and it's been exceptional. It's been great.
Yeah.
They go in and get beat. But then, as you see a lot of it, they try and blame someone else. And I think a lot of it can be down to themselves. Right? Don't get me wrong. I think there will be losses somewhere along the line for some fighters where they feel like they did do everything they could, and that's where they can put it down to someone's actual ability was just a bit better than theirs was on the night, not down to the fact that they didn't put all the effort they could have done in. And again, that's the only way I think people should be, that if they don't get that decision, then they put it down to the fact that they just weren't the better person on the night.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they did train their absolute arse off. And did everything they possibly
Which is
could.
a lot easier to take, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's always this persistent thing around keeping your own. I think Mayweather obviously persisted with making that such a big things.
I think.
I mean, you look at years and years prior to Mayweather, there was fighters that they didn't finish with their own, but they'd gone beyond what Mayweather did. I think I can't remember the fighter, but I think he got to like 70 something and 0. All right, and then later in his career, he ended up losing a few, but he'd actually beaten what Mayweather did originally.
Yeah. I
Points
did hear this fight. I can't remember who it is though for the life.
But yeah, there's
I know Cesar Chavez did
I
that.
think so.
Yeah.
But again, it falls down to the fighters wanting to protect their own because there's such a big thing about it. But again, it's with promoters need to be able to change at that aspect of it and almost be like, right, we're going to put on these tough fights. You're going to put up a 50-50 fight for whatever title, etc. Just because you lose doesn't mean you ain't going to come again and you're still going to be signed with us. I think sometimes fighters worry that if they lose,
they'll be looked at as
gonna
damaged goods or something.
They're going to be dropped, and that's it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. If you're fighting against a lad who you should be walking over and you lose,
Then it's a different
and they
story.
might look at it and go, you know what, we're not going to carry on investing in this person. But if you've worked your way up, you've gone and fought a 50-50 fight for a title, and you don't come out on top, promoters should still back them and be like, you know what, we'll work with you and keep working on you till we get you back up there.
Yeah.
There's always different sides of things. If they can see that the fighter's not pulling their weight, etc., and that's why they've lost, there's options.
Yeah,
for that. But just because you've lost one fight, I don't think it changes anything.
Doesn't make or break your career.
You look at the Four Kings again. I keep going on about the Four Kings probably because I met Sugar Ray Leanord, but they all lost against each other at least one fight. And again, Lennox Lewis was a massive one. I don't know how many he lost. He was three in the end, I think it was.
About 3, I think.
But he went back and he beat the person that's just beat him.
It can make you a better fighter, right?
So they look at him as one of the best British boxers to come out of Britain. And he had a few losses, but he redeemed himself, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that's probably, people classify him as one of the best to come out of Britain. Probably because he did redeem himself. If he didn't, he might not have got that look in.
It's how you come back from the losses, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. But I know we're just coming to the end of the podcast now, but a couple of final things I just want to touch on. Obviously, you're crowned the European super featherweight champion now. How does it feel when you're walking around in Leamington? Are you getting recognised more? And what is it like in the local community? Because obviously just from looking at your following at the Sky Dome, which was huge, so people must be getting recognised a fair bit more, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, Leamington's a small town that kind of everyone knows everyone a little bit.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
So whether it be whether you be playing for Leamington Football Club, whether you be boxing, whether you be I don't know, featuring in what was the Commonwealth Games a few years ago, people recognise people from what they've done, etc., what they're doing, and again with my following, it helps. It's a great feeling to know that I've won it. I could probably live off it for the rest of my life if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But for myself, it's almost like I've won it, done it.
You got goals.
Put it to one side. Let's carry on.
Yeah.
And it does feel a bit odd at times, people making such a big fuss about it. Because almost in my head, I feel like I've just won another fight.
Has life changed much since that European
Life's
title?
not changed. I'm quite a humble person in terms of...
It's probably a few more interviews and whatnot.
Don't get me wrong, there's interviews, but I think that's all good in terms of promotion and publicity
of course.
for myself and then being able to broadcast my views on boxing and what I think.
You're definitely a natural in front of the camera.
No, well,
so
I've done a few interviews, but not too many. But in terms of just, I quite like the fact that probably more so the younger generation, maybe kids and stuff, especially kids who are featured within the boxing clubs locally around Leamington, Coventry, etc. They want like photos and stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like,
which is nice because you're an inspiration.
What do you want a photo
of them,
of me for?
Yeah,
I did it, but I
understand that takes some getting used to.
Yeah, I understand it, and I'd never turn anything down like that because I feel like just giving someone 2 seconds of your time for a quick
Could
photo.
make that a day, right?
Yeah, exactly. And again, I'll go back to LA. So where we stayed, it was the Fairmont Santa Monica, and we didn't know until we got there, but Arnold Schwarzenegger eats his breakfast every morning.
Okay.
And we seen him eat his breakfast there every morning whilst we were there. So after we'd had breakfast, we sort of waited in the lobby and thought, oh, he probably would come out for this way after breakfast, and he did. So we asked him one time, and it wasn't like there was loads of people waiting for him, etc. There was literally just, it was a quiet lobby. He said, "Oh, excuse me, come from England, would you mind a quick photo?" And he just, "No, I can't walk."
Oh, really?
So you're like, right, okay, we tried it once.
So you've been on the receiving end of it. So
and then the next morning, I thought, you know what, stuff it, I'm only here once. I'll ask him again. I said, "Excuse me, mate, look, just 30 seconds, quick photo, and we'll leave you alone." No, sorry, and carried on walking. I thought, right, okay, now we know. And that's one of them where he's not a big idol to me. He's done amazing things with his career and in bodybuilding. And again, he has that determination. So you can take determination aspects and his discipline from that. And obviously now into being a movie star. But I thought, if he was my idol, and that was at one moment I could have met him, got a quick photo, and it could have made my life.
Some people travel the world to see him.
He ruined it. Yeah. And they always say, don't meet your idol. And
Luckily, he's
I
not
met my idol. But luckily he wasn't my idol, because if he was, I probably would have broke your heart.
It's quite interesting. That
it literally he didn't even have to stop walking. Probably he could have just gone with my heart, with his like
2
quick
seconds,
photo as you walk in, quick photo done. Wouldn't have took any time out of his day. Wouldn't have changed what he was doing for the rest of the day. But I think
it's interesting how that stays in your mind.
I think it implements me. Someone asks for a quick photo. What is it? Sometimes, if you're getting hundreds and hundreds of people, it gets to a point where you might go, well, I wasn't going to do any more. But I'm nowhere near that sort of level. So just taking 2 seconds at your time just to have a quick photo with someone is nothing.
Sometimes I feel having kind of little situations like that are kind of meant to be, and they're meant to kind of show you things in life, right?
Yeah. I think everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason, and that's left an impression on you that has obviously stayed with you. And like you said, it's one of the first things you do is you take the time to be with your fans, get a quick picture, which I think is quite admirable. So
that's one thing I'll always look.
It's an interesting little story, that is.
It's one thing that you probably don't expect. I mean, we didn't expect to be sat in the same place at eating breakfast as him, but we were polite about it.
Yeah, mate, I'll be fucking fuming if he did
that. It was a bit of a kick in the teeth. Come on, we tried twice now. I thought he actually asked me yesterday. I'll give him.
Which is what I would have thought.
But no, and I just, that will stick with me, and again, I'll make sure that, fingers crossed, that never happened.
You've used that experience in a good way, right?
I wouldn't want people to think badly of me in that aspect of being, up your own arse, etc. Or too good for someone, because you're never too good. And it's like Pat said to me about Sugar Ray Leanord, and Sugar Ray said, we're all just people. We're no better than anyone else. Just because you've got a title or you've done this as a job, doesn't mean you're any better than someone.
Yeah, it's about keeping grounded.
Yeah,
right?
You've got to be humble and stay grounded, and realise that everyone has feelings. Everyone's exactly the same as everyone else.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, mate, even when I reached out to you for this podcast, I thought, right, crikey, he's European champion now. I'm probably not even going to get a response.
No, not at all.
And lo and behold, I did get a response, and you're sat here now, which obviously which I appreciate. So no, it's good stuff, and it's been a great chat, mate. It's been interesting to hear about you and your journey into boxing, which I think a lot of people will want to know a little bit more about, and want to know a little bit more about Danny as well, because like I said, mate, I think you've just exploded onto the scene, so to speak. So, and I think, like I said, you've got another follower in me from being at the Sky Dome, because I actually went to watch River as well, but obviously I knew you were fighting on the main card, so you got another follower in me, and I'm sure you've gained quite a few more followers from that performance as well. So yeah, I'll be following your career very closely, mate, and thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
And yeah, good luck in the future of boxing. I'm sure there's some more big things to come, and
definitely, and
some world titles next on the scene, right? So
100%. Well, I mean, there's definitely some more titles to come before the world titles, but I'm excited to see where this story could go.
All right, mate. Good stuff. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much.
And we'll speak again soon.